around 2014, LA Times reports that that you're not at the racetrack on the race weekends. Did you think that, that was a fair assessment? Did you feel like that you needed to be at the racetrack? I
have never understood that whole thing in my life.
That was a big conversation for a while.
I don't know how many games any commissioner makes or doesn't make, or I have no idea. I've never heard that complaint until me, but it was always interesting.
Yeah.
As if I wasn't engaged, and anybody that was working for us would tell you, if you ever sat in one of our planning meetings or meetings, who was engaged, there wouldn't be any confusion there. But I never understood that, but so be it.
Mike, I asked Mike one time, and this wasn't that long ago, but he said that even though you might not be physically standing here in the garage, that you were more involved than ever, and people would be really surprised and appreciate how plugged in you were and how aware you were of everything that was happening in the sport. And I think a lot of people, would see your dad was, maybe this isn't entirely true, but it felt like, your dad was always in the garage, always up in the holler, always somewhere where you could physically reach him, and everybody has a different style of how they do things and manage. And that I'm not my dad, you're not your dad. But you didn't feel like that your interest in physically being there changed at all throughout your time as CEO?
I was never going to be that guy that was there on a Friday and staying all the way through and visible. It wasn't about me. I never looked at that it wasn't about me. It was about, are we doing the things that we need to do as a sport? And if I need to be there 7 days a week at the track, sure. If that's what I needed to do for us to be successful, I would have done it. But that isn't what we needed. I know I got a lot of criticism for that.
Yeah.
Look, everybody's got to balance their personal life and what they're doing. They got the responsibilities changed in my deal. But look, that's just stuff that it's going to get some criticism, and I let our performance, what we got accomplished. I kind of smile about that now, looking back at it now, like, wow, I judge all the commissioners to myself. I'll look at who I think is doing a really good job. I never ask, how many games did that guy go to? I mean, I just don't even understand it.
Well, don't you think, though, there might have been, listen, in 2007 through 2009, the sport sort of started hitting some situations that I think were mostly contributed to the fact that we had a recession. Yeah. We had an economic recession, right? So now you have teams that are, starting to struggle, and just basically our foundation that we took for granted for all that time is starting to, have a little bit of a crackage, right? Yeah. And so when that happens, doesn't, people start looking for who to blame?
Sure. That's part of it, and I was willing to, look, you got to take criticism. If it wasn't going to be that for me, well, he's not at he doesn't do that well, or he's not engaged in this part of the business, or to me, you're always going to get that when things go poorly, even when things go well. Well, he didn't look after me. He didn't get that right and get me right. And so you just got to know, and, Jim's getting that now.
Yeah.
Almost all of it's unfair, but you'd expect a guy like me to say it's unfair.
I would.
You would. And it goes, I don't really care about any of that. All I want to do when it's me running it is get us to a better place. So I don't really get too focused on that. Other people do.
Yeah.
I just, privileged to be in the spot, trying to hire the best people we can to make an impact on our sport, to manage the complexities that are happening. empower those people, which that's how I managed. And by the way, Mike Helton, who does go to every event, or most of them, and he loves that, he's really good at it. You know, you don't need 4 Mike Heltons walking around. Mike Helton's Mike Helton.
Yeah.
And Mike and I, and people don't realize this, they don't know, I used to tell people in our company all the time who weren't getting along, and they're banging into each other and the normal stuff that people have when their careers are going this. I said, hey, you don't have to have a lot in common with somebody you're working with. I said, take Mike. Mike lives on a farm. I would never live on a farm. Mike wears cowboy boots. I don't wear cowboy boots. Mike goes hunting. I don't go hunting. Mike and I are really close. I have a huge amount of respect for Mike Helton. We have very little in common in those kind of things, right? And so, and I always would tell people in words, can you be successful by yourself? Do you need that person? Okay, can you be? And they'd say, well, no. Well, good. Then we're going to work together. We're going to get this going. That's how I did things. I managed things that way.
I almost think you were damned if you do, damned if you don't in that case. Because really, again, when the foundation starts to have cracks, you can be accused for just as much the opposite. Oh, Brian just wants to be in front of the camera. You know, he's trying to be a Vince McMahon, or he's trying to do this,
That's
or
right,
trying to that. Like, you can be damned either way you go do that, and you're just saying, you know, you tried not to let that affect you.
Hey, here's the good news. It wasn't about me.
Yeah.
It wasn't about me anyway.
I know what you're trying to say. I feel like that had every time I've talked to Mike about, you know, you talk about Mike being great at it, Mike being, you know, able to go to the track and engage and be the guy. I feel like that. I can't speak for everybody, but I wanted you to succeed. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't care I don't care who's in charge. I want it to work, and I want it to succeed, and so I wanted that to, I wanted people to have a better opinion. You know, I wanted people to have the opinion of you that you deserved. We've talked about all of the things that you've been involved in and how you helped move us forward in a lot of different ways. And Mike would share that with me over time. And I just feel like that had I seen you more standing with Mike in that garage during those times when the floor underneath us was uneven, I would have really liked to have seen that. I would have put a smile on my face to have just physically seen more of you. If you like that conversation with Brian France, you can listen to the whole podcast because it's all available on every podcast platform.